Hello guys, in today's tutorial I'm going to show you how you can process your form. And by processing I mean you'll be able to submit whatever the user has entered into your form. Now let's begin. Okay, we started with form in the last tutorial. In the previous tutorial you should watch that tutorial before you watch this if you haven't watched. Okay, now I'm modifying the form we created the last time. So this time we'll be having input, type is text, name, let's use full name, and class form control. Right. So the next thing, let's ask for the email of the user. So text type should be email, name, let's use email also, class form control. The next one, let's do input. We want the user to enter their phone number, so I'll call this telephone, class is form control. In this case I'll say the max length, because the telephone length here is 10. You can modify it to be to be your telephone length, but in my case it's 10. So this, we also need the address. So input type is text, name, call it address, class form control. Now I want the gender of the person. In this case they should not type in the gender. It should be a drop down menu as we did in the previous tutorial. So name, let's call this gender, class form control, explore the option, male and female. Good. Now there's the form. Now let's look at what you've done. You can open your browser. When you launch your browser, don't forget our project folder is called tutorial. If you are confused, please watch the previous tutorial. Yes. So in our browser, I'm going to type in localhost/tutorial. Okay. Now we have, but as you notice, we just have input boxes, right? But we don't have any instruction for the user. So in this case, let's put placeholder here, placeholder, that's full name. This one placeholder email, placeholder telephone. I'll set this one placeholder, that's address. Good. Now you see we have this, but if you look at this form, you can see it's kind of clumsy. There's no space between and the inputs. So to do that, what we should do is there's this feature in Bootstrap. Each of the inputs, you wrap them in a div. So So when you do this, you put the input inside the div, and you call for that div, you make it class form group like this. How we get this? You just create a new div, do it class form group, close the div. Now copy the input into it. This is very simple. You should be able to do it. So again, I'm doing div class form group. At the end of the input, I'm closing the div. The same thing. Div class form group. At the end of this, I'm closing it. Gender form group. At the end of the select, closing it. Now when you do this, when you go back to your phone, as you can see now, we have a well spaced form. Now to make this more nicer, let's put a label showing that this is actually registration. So in the middle colon MD4, I'm going to put H1 and put registration. So when you do, now we have registration, and all the inputs are ready to be completed. Now don't let us forget there should be a submit button. When the user are done completing a form, they should be able to click on the button to submit. So after the last element, which is the select, I'm going to do button and put submit here. Submit. Now we have a submit button. Good. Now after creating the form, since we want to save whatever the user has entered into database, we need to create a database. So to access the database, you just have to go to your browser and type localhost php my admin, localhost php my admin. Now it's time to load. Good. So now you'll be prompted to enter the username. The default username is root, R-O-O-T, root, and the password you leave it empty. You don't need to enter anything there. So click on go. So when you click on go, it will log in successfully, and you can now create. So at this left side, all your database will be listed here at this left side. Now you can see that we're having 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the default database that comes with WAMP7. So we can now create our own database by clicking on the new, and click on new. At the database name, let's put tutorial. After inputting tutorial, you can click on create. Now when you do that, you should have tutorial at the left hand side, and that's the part where all your database are listed. So we have tutorial. Now inside tutorial, let's see database. Like database, it's meant to handle all your records. So in this case we have a registration page. So inside tutorial database, we'll create a table to handle the registration, but it's still within the tutorial database. So I'm typing registration here. Registration. How many columns? Now the number of columns depends on the number of inputs you're having here. So in this case, we have full name 1, email 2, the telephone 3, address 4, and gender 5. So 5 things, 5. We are expecting 5 different inputs from the user. So that means you should put 5 here. In this case, we are putting 5 columns. Good. So now, after inputting 5, you'll be presented to complete this form. Now the name here is full name because we are expecting full name as the first one. Let's just choose Vaka and put 200 here. That's the maximum length it can take. Also, the next one will be the email. So we have email, Vaka also. This one let's put 100. After email, we have the telephone. Telephone, Vaka, telephone, Vaka. This one is 10. Looking at our maximum here, the maximum is 10, so you can easily say the length of this one too should be 10. So after the email, we have after telephone we have address. So address, in this case back, let's just do 255. Now the next thing is gender. So gender, back, female is like, so let's put that 6, FEMALE 6. Good. So now after completing the form like this, you can now click on the save. So when you click on the save button, a new table will be created inside the tutorial database. Hope you get it. So we have the database called tutorial, and inside the tutorial database, we now have a table called registration. So to submit this form now, I didn't mention something. In the action part, this action is meant to guide the submission of the form. Whatever you put inside here means that's the location where the code that will submit this form is. If you are confused, don't worry. As you proceed, you get what I'm saying. So for this action, we'll leave it empty for now. So let's leave it empty, and we write our submission code on top of this page. So good. Now, because we have not been doing PHP, our page is saved as index.html. But in this case, now that we are going to be typing in PHP codes, we should save this page as index.php. So go to File, Save As. Now instead of index.html, we type index.php. Okay. So now when we type in, the page is now index.php. So we can now proceed with submitting the form. So to do this, we have to create a connection to the database we've created, and that's simple. So we create a variable called connect is equal to Mysql connect. So the first parameter here is localhost. Second parameter is root. That's the username. The username we inputted when we wanted to log in was root. So that's default username. And the password is empty. So we leave this one empty. And the fourth parameter, fourth thing you input here is tutorial. And we are inputting tutorial here because that was the name of our database. Good. So when we do this, now the next thing to do is check if something has been submitted in the form. So to check whether something has been submitted, we do if not empty post full name. You can use any of the field. Now what this line means is that, let me show you something here. You see that in our form the method is what? Post. So that what we just did on this line is we're saying that if something has been, if the full name, full name is one of the elements, or is one of the inputs we are expecting. So we are saying if the full name is not empty, that means something has been entered. Then we can now start with processing the form. Let me come again. Not empty means there's something inside post full name. So this portion of the code will only run if something has been entered into the full name. So now what do we want to do if something has been entered into the full name? We will take full name and put it inside a variable called full name. Now whatever has been entered into the form is going into this variable here. So we have email also. Email is equal to post email. Telephone is equal to post telephone. We have address is equal to post address, and we have gender is equal to post gender. Now what we've done now is these things you are seeing here are the names we give to each input. If you look at here, the name of this input is full name, the name of this input is email, the name of this one is telephone, and that's what you quote here. The name of address is address, the name of gender was gender. So this is what you quote, and we're saying whatever has been inputted into these various inputs should go into all these variables. Good. So now we can say q is equal to, now that we have everything that the user has entered into the form, we can now insert. So say q is equal to MySQL query. Now MySQL, when you call MySQL query, it means you want to execute a particular database query. And if you don't know what query is just a statement, for you to manipulate data in database. It's just like saying, hey, I want to submit something, that's a query. I want to pick something, that's a query. So now what the query you want to do now is you want to submit all these things that have been inputted. So to do that, the first thing you enter here is the variable we created on top here, that's the connect. So connect comma now after entering the connect variable, The next is the actual query, and that query is insert into the table name. We created a registration table. So after calling the name of the table, you now say value. Now this the mistake most programmer do here is they don't follow the order in which they created their table, and by that way you mess up your records. So in this case, full name is the first thing we created. That's the first column. So single quotes, input the variable that contains what the user has entered, and that's full name, comma the next thing is email, and the variable that contains that is the email. So $email, comma this telephone, so the telephone, comma address. So the variable that contains address is address, so address, comma gender, so gender. Good. I hope you understand this query. It's straightforward. Now to check if this is successful, this q is a variable that is holding this statement. So now we can easily say if q means if it's successful, then we'll echo, let's do this, successful. Else, otherwise, if it's not successful, what do you want to do? Let's just copy this and make it error submitting. Good. So now let's see what we've done. Let's go to our browser, refresh this page. Now let's input something here. I'm going to input Tech as the name. My email is address, that's okay. I'm going to choose mail. I'll submit this. I'm using successful. Now let's check our database. You can click on the browse. When you click on browse, you should see your records. I hope you get this.
These are the top results.
So thank you. Make sure you like this video, you share, and you subscribe. Thank you.